Hi. Okay. So I want to make a little video talking about the thing that I've been doing a lot recently and thinking about, which are transcription Anki cards. So transcription is a very useful activity that you can do to improve your listening, which is where you just write down what somebody says and you try to get it as accurate as possible to what they say. But that's kind of hard and annoying to do in real time. It's very slow. It takes a lot of effort to go back and forth, and I don't like it, basically. But I wanted to be able to do it. And so I decided to try to combine it with Anki and make like transcription cards. And I've done that. And so today we're going to look at how to do that yourself, how you can make transcription decks from YouTube videos, how you can make them from other decks, all sorts of different things. So let's jump into looking at a card here. So I'm using my test Anki account, and if we go into a card, I have to put in my earbud to hear what's being said. So if we jump into a card here and I press the play button,
Ahoj, právě posloucháš Jakoby deník.
It says something from a podcast that I listen to. So I have to change my input method to be the Czech keyboard, and I can write down what is said. I think that's it.
Ahoj, právě posloucháš Jakoby deník.
And as we can see, these are the things that are wrong or different. So I had the wrong A used here. I did have, actually, I was right the first time with posloucháš. And then this is not Jakoby, and then it's not deník, it's deník. And so you get to see the differences in your sentence. So if I go back and I get it exactly correct, so here I've just pasted it in exactly as it's supposed to be,
Ahoj,
and you can see that it's all green.
Jakoby deník.
And so that's the process. The cards are very simple. It's just audio, if you want a translation, if you want to look at what it means, and then the actual sentence. There's a spot to put an image on here, but just in case, I guess. I don't need an image for this. So I've been doing these cards for about a week now, I think, daily, and I've spent between 10 and 20 minutes on transcription cards, 5 new sentences per day, and it's been really, really helpful for a lot of different reasons. The first one is just to think about the official language as it's written versus as it's spoken. With Czech, there's a bit of difference between what people say versus what is written. Like they say something that you could write down phonetically, but you just don't because the written way is supposed to be that. It's a whole thing. But reminding myself that that's real and trying to think about it the way that a Czech would, because they know that difference. They go, yeah, you say that, but you write that. That's really helpful. Finding words that I can't hear as well. Also punctuation. My punctuation in Czech isn't great. And so being reminded, okay, yeah, there's not a comma there in Czech, but there would be in English, or vice versa, is very helpful. Spelling of words is also good, especially because, like you saw in that example, they sometimes are subtly different, whether it's a long A or a short A, or just like slight spelling things that I might remember. If like when I read them, it's totally fine and know how to pronounce it, or I can understand it. But hearing it is sometimes a little bit difficult. So that's great practice. But I think the biggest thing is like really processing the audio language as it is processed by somebody else, by like a native speaker who understands and can use the language very effectively. When they hear a relatively fast and smushed together sentence, it means something. It has those words in there. They might not necessarily process them in real time. I don't either, but they could. Something I forgot to mention, so I'm recording this a little bit later in the video, is that in order to do all of this, to get that preset, you have to download at least one card that is already in this format, the Anki note type, if you will. And so in the description of the video, I'm going to leave a link that has a bunch of different downloads that you can use. I'm going to include the download for a deck that I generated in this video, which you should stick around to see, for the Python scripts, and for the note type that you need to do any of this. All right, let's look at how to make one of these decks, because you're not going to find them on Anki Web. You're going to find some good materials there, but let's talk about how to make one yourself. So I'm actually going to use the Refold ES1K, our Spanish deck. We sell a bunch of these 1K decks on our website. You can go and find those. They are very high quality, and they have native recorded audio, sentences, and translations that all match, which is exactly what you need. However, if you don't want to buy one of these decks, or you've already done the deck, or whatever it is, you can find downloadable sentence decks on Anki as well. But here I just imported the Refold ES1K, and we're going to quickly go over the process of turning it into a transcription deck. So first I'm going to go in here and then hit browse. And then I have to select all the cards and I'm going to change the notes. So it's in, what is it in? Change note type. There it is. Change note type. And we're going to go to the transcription cards. Now, we have to turn current into the new one. In the new cards, there's only sentence, translation, audio, and image if you want. And so the only one that's wrong here is translation. So we have to make it be example sentence should be example sentence. Translation should be sentence translation. Sentence audio, image, image. Great. And then template's going to be the same. Perfect. And then we just hit save. And that's going to update all of these cards and get rid of a bunch of information. So you see that now it's just these 4 things, which is all you need for a transcription card. So if you want to get all that information back, you have to re-download the original deck. So if I, and now this is in the same deck, right? It's still called Refold ES1K. So if you want to like rename it, you can. In this case, we could do ES1K transcription, not translation. And then I also made a special preset for this for transcription cards, because normally with Anki cards, you want to review them sort of every day until you get them right. But with transcription cards, I set it to be a little bit different. I set a maximum of 5 per day. And then if you get it right, you don't see that card again until the next day. And then if you pass it, because there's a little bit of difference between passing and getting something right, then you might see it again in 7 days. And so it's very, very different than like a typical just vocab card, because might as well just go over new sentences since you're practicing a skill, not necessarily memorizing sentences. So that's why I did it like this instead of having it be like a typical vocab card order or process or sequence or whatever. So I save that there, and if I go in here, we'll now see that I have
Soy humano.
A sentence here, and it's very easy. So soy humano, period.
Soy
And we
humano.
get it all right. There's the translation. Let's pass, go next.
Estoy estresado.
Estoy estresado. Easy
Estoy
peasy.
estresado.
Spanish champion over here.
¿Tienes planes para esta noche?
Oh, here's a good one. So, or let's do it like that. Or even, let's make a mistake. So if I do it like this, we're going to see some problems that I have.
¿Tienes planes para esta noche?
So first I spelled noche wrong, obviously. But then it also catches my punctuation, right? So there's no accents in this example, but if a lot of Spanish has accents in it, then it might be a little bit hard to remember to put in. And so that's some other great practice for this, to remind yourself, oh yeah, this word has an accent, for example.
Tengo que ser perfecto.
This is not also in this one. I'm going to find an example with an accent.
Las Naciones Unidas aprobó la Declaración Universal de los Derechos Humanos en 1948.
So that's a great long sentence. And if I paste in the correct answer and I change some things, we can see where you might mess up, right? So if I make it a lowercase u, the wrong O, get rid of some stuff in there, whatever it is, and I hit enter.
Las Naciones Unidas aprobó la Declaración Universal de los Derechos Humanos en 1948.
You can see where the errors are. You're going to just be in the way the whole time? All right. And so you can test things like that. It's a fantastic, simple way to practice your listening ability and how you connect that with the written language. Now, another option is to go onto Anki Web and look for a sentence deck that you can use. So a good tip is to find a Tatoeba deck. So if I go into Japanese, for example, and I search on the page with Control F, Tatoeba, you can find a bunch of decks that have sentences and audio. So if I click on this one, all Japanese sentences with audio from Tatoeba, we have the sentence, we have the English translation, and a bunch of other languages as well. But we wouldn't care about that. We just remove all that. But we have the sentence and the audio,
トムってどんな人?
which would be great for making transcription decks. There are Tatoeba decks for a bunch of different languages, so definitely recommend looking up those if you don't want to get a paid deck that are gonna have higher quality audio, higher quality sentences, but it's still great practice. So now let's look at the coolest part, which is how to turn a YouTube video into one of these decks so that you can actually transcribe a YouTube video from a creator that you like. I'm going to be using a video of mine, which is the how to get a 1,000 day streak. And down in the description of the video on that link that has a bunch of useful stuff, there's going to be a way to download this sentencify.py and the no translate sentencify.py, which are some scripts that you can run to do this automatically. The only difference is that this one uses OpenAI's API to translate the sentence so that you get a sentence translation.
Ahoj, právě posloucháš Jakoby deník.
So that you get a translation just like this one. If you don't want that, you don't need to, which is going to be slightly cheaper, although it's really cheap to do this. And all you have to do for this one is to have an API key.txt, which has your API key in it. I'm going to be running this one just because it's faster to run and I don't have all day. But I typically use Sentencify because it is very cheap and it's nice to have the translation just in case you do come across a word you don't know. Now, you actually need to get rid of the title to have these square brackets. And so what I usually do is just name it something super simple. So I'm just going to call this Anki tutorial without any spaces because it's very easy for computers to get confused with weird characters. So I'm going to rename that, and I'm going to rename this as well to be ankitutorial.srt. You do need a subtitle file, and my rudimentary Python script only works with MP3 files and SRTs, so you have to have an MP3 file and an SRT file. And that's how it's going to cut up the audio into the little chunks. So let's run the no translate Sentencify. So I'm going to do Python 3 no translates Sentencify, and then I'm going to hit enter. And now I have to put in the path or the name of the Anki tutorial. So you can just, on Linux at least, you can copy this and then paste it, and it will get the exact location of my file. So I'll hit enter, and then on the MP3 file, I'll do the same. But if you're running this in the right location, you can just pass it the name. So if I hit enter, it's going to start processing it. And if I go into this output files thing, we see, boom, there's all the different audio files. And the first one should correspond to the first line of the video. I've studied Anki every single day for the da-da-da-da. So if I go into here, we listen. I've studied Anki every single day for the past 1,083 days. That's like... And there it is. There's a tiny bit on the end as well because I was having trouble with it sort of cutting off too much of the audio. And if you want to change that, there's actually a setting in this file, which is down here, duration plus minus 0.3 seconds. And you can just change that number to be lower or higher if you're getting too much extra stuff or if you want more time at the end of sentences or something. That's helpful if the subtitles aren't perfectly aligned. And one last note on if you're going to do the translations, inside you have to make sure that it's on the right language. So this is currently translating into Spanish, and so you might want it to be into English, for example. So when you download it, it'll be default to English, but you can change that translation to language. So this actually finished, which means that we can close this. And now we have to do a little bit of setup in Anki first. So I'm going to do create deck, and we'll call this, let's see, Ben's. Oh, I'm in the Spanish keyboard. Ben's video transcription deck. Enter. And then I'm going to set the options to be the same as the transcription cards. Done. And now we also want to find where our audio files go for Anki. Now, this process is a little bit different depending on your computer, but what I found to work best is to go into any card that already has audio. So I'll just use one of these as an example. I'll hit browse, and then you want to find just the name of an audio file. So that's this part here. So this is how Anki tells how you tell Anki that you want to play a file. So copy what's after this. So I'm going to be copying this part exactly as it is. And then I'm going to go into my files and do a new thing, and I'm going to search by using Control F my entire computer for this audio file. So I go, okay, well, it's playing it from somewhere on my computer. So where is that? I have two Ankis on my computer, one for videos and stuff. You should probably only have one, but I know that it's this one because the username transcription decks matches what I'm doing for this video. So I'm going to right click on this and hit open item location, and this is where all of my audio lives. So this is all the stuff from that ES1K that I imported. There's a bunch of audio in here, tons and tons of stuff. Now, if I go into output files, which is what we just generated, I'm going to Control X everything, which is cut, and paste into here. Where's the paste? What? Oh, I selected an icon. So paste. There, it's all gone. Close this. I can now close my collection.media. And now we just have to import that TSV that was generated. I don't know if you saw that, but if I go into where I put that, we see that we have this Anki tutorial output underscore sentences.tsv. And this will be whatever the name was. There's also a random code just in case that you use the same name. And so we just select this, turn on HTML, and we see that this is all the different lines, right? We see that this is all the different lines. So now I want to set the note type to be transcription cards. The deck should go into Ben's video transcription deck. All this is fine. And now the field mapping is the most important part. If you don't do this, you won't get anything. So we want the sentence audio to be the audio tag. The sentence translation is nothing for this, but there would normally be a translation line. And then if you use the one that has translation, and then the example sentence is just sentence. So we have sentence, nothing, audio tag, nothing, nothing. And then this one would be changed if you did the translation part. So I'm going to click import, and we see that we have all these added. There is just this header row, which we can just delete. So I've hit show. We'll delete this first one here. But now we have all these other cards made from the video with different sentences and the audio. So if I hit preview, we should hear it.
I've studied Anki every single day for the past 1,083 days. That's like...
There you go. You can't type in a preview window, but when we open it, we can see that it'll work. Last thing, if you want to randomize the order of these, you can select all with Control A and then reposition, randomize order, set this number 1, and then hit OK. I'm not going to do that. But now if we close all this and we go into the transcription deck, hit study now.
I've studied Anki every single day for the past 1,083 days. That's like...
All right, I'm not going to type it all out because that's me speaking. But that's it. That's the entire process to generate your own transcription deck from a YouTube video. I've been really enjoying doing this, and I hope that you find this useful. If you're a better programmer than me, which is not hard, definitely recommend some suggestions for improving it or maybe adding more features. Something I was hoping to do was to be able to automatically generate a subtitle file with Whisper first, then correct it, because like for Czech, it's not right most of the time. So I have to like correct it and then do the generation. So all you need is the audio file. Would be really cool, but that's not the current version of it. So anyways, that's all I wanted to share with you. I hope that this video was helpful and maybe interesting to you and not too all over the place. But if you enjoy it and find it helpful, definitely leave a like and maybe a comment. But other than that, I will see you around. So happy immersing.
I'm here to drop some knowledge, listen up with your ears. I got a language learning method, gonna make it crystal clear. It's called Refill the Game Changer, gonna blow your...
I hope that I'm in focus. I can't actually see me, but we have a guest today. You're just slightly in frame, dude. It's kind of funny. Nah, cut that part. I don't like that. Kind of a lot. Yeah, don't need that.